Nathan Cole had walked into this dinner expecting awkward small talk. He hadn't expected to actually enjoy himself. The restaurant was buzzing with quiet conversation, silverware clinking against plates, the warm glow of chandeliers reflecting off polished wooden tables. Nathan Cole sat across from his 8-year-old son Dylan, barely paying attention to his untouched steak. His phone was on silent, flipped over on the table. A rare thing for a man whose entire empire ran through that small device. But tonight, none of it mattered. Tonight was about Dylan. Dylan, however, was entirely focused on his ice cream sundae, a mountain of chocolate and whipped cream that he was attacking with absolute dedication. Nathan watched him, a small smile tugging at his lips. His son had no idea that outside this little dinner, his father was one of the most powerful businessmen in the country. To Dylan, he was just Dad, and for Nathan, that was the only title that ever really mattered. Just as he was about to ask Dylan about his day, his son's phone rang. Nathan expected him to ignore it. Family rule, no phones at the dinner table. But Dylan's face lit up when he saw the caller ID. "Dad, it's Jake," Dylan blurted, already answering the call. "Hey dude, what's up?" Nathan leaned back, half listening, half amused by the way Dylan talked to his best friend. The kid had more social skills than most of Nathan's business partners. Then, mid-conversation, Dylan laughed and said, "Yeah, my dad's super nice and single." Nathan froze. His fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Dylan, completely unaware of what he had just done, kept talking. "Yeah, for real, and trust me, he needs a girlfriend. Bad." Nathan coughed, nearly choking on his own breath. "Excuse me?" Dylan glanced up, eyes wide with fake innocence. "Oh, nothing, Dad, just telling Jake the truth." He covered the phone with his hand and whispered dramatically, "You know, in case his aunt is interested." Nathan pinched the bridge of his nose. "Dylan." But Dylan was already back on the phone. "Yeah, I think he likes smart ladies, and pretty ones, and ones who don't mind grumpy business guys." Nathan sighed, dragging a hand down his face. This was going to be a long night, and something told him it was only the beginning. Nathan barely had time to recover before Dylan ended the call and looked at him with a perfectly innocent expression. Too innocent. That meant trouble. "So," Dylan said, shoving another spoonful of ice cream into his mouth, "what do you think about Jake's aunt?" Nathan exhaled slowly, setting his fork down. "Dylan, I run a billion-dollar company. I negotiate with world leaders. You really think I need my 8-year-old son setting me up on dates?" Dylan didn't even blink. "Yeah." Nathan ran a hand through his hair. "Kid, I don't have time for dating." Dylan leaned back in his chair, eyeing his dad like he was some clueless intern. "Dad, you literally make time for anything important. You always say if something matters, you make it work. So what I'm hearing is," Dylan tapped his chin, pretending to think, "you don't think love is important." Nathan nearly choked. This child. "First of all," Nathan said, pointing at him, "stop using my own words against me. Second, you don't even know this woman. What if she's terrible?" Dylan shrugged. "Jake says she's cool. Plus, she's a teacher." Nathan frowned. "A teacher?" Dylan nodded enthusiastically. "Yeah, she teaches 3rd grade. Smart, kind, loves kids. Basically the total opposite of you." Nathan gave him a flat look. "Wow, thanks." "Just saying." Dylan smirked, then leaned forward. "Come on, Dad. You should at least meet her." "What's the worst that could happen?" Nathan sighed. He should have shut this conversation down immediately, but the way Dylan looked at him, hopeful, excited, made it harder than it should have been. Dinner," Nathan finally said. "That's it." Dylan grinned, clearly thrilled. "One dinner. You're gonna love her." Nathan shook his head, picking up his fork again. He had a bad feeling about this. Nathan didn't think much of it at first. One dinner, one polite conversation, he'd show up, be charming enough not to embarrass Dylan, and leave. Simple. No complications, no expectations. He had handled billion-dollar acquisitions with less thought than this. But then came the text. Jake sat, "Hey, this is Olivia. Dylan gave me your number. I hear I've been set up." Nathan stared at his phone, sighing. Of course Dylan had already taken matters into his own hands. Before he could even process it, Another text popped up. Olivia, don't worry. I promise I'm not expecting a marriage proposal, just a dinner. Nathan smirked. At least she had a sense of humor. Nathan, looks like we both got ambushed. One dinner, no pressure. Her reply was almost instant. Olivia, deal. Friday at 7. There's a place near my school. Nothing fancy, just good food. You do eat normal food, right? Nathan chuckled, shaking his head. Nathan, as long as it doesn't come with a stock report, I think I'll survive. Olivia, good. See you then, billionaire. Nathan sighed, locking his phone. Dylan, who had been pretending to focus on his math homework, peeked up with a smug grin. So, Dylan asked casually, flipping a page in his textbook. What's the verdict? Nathan exhaled. Friday, one dinner. That's all. Dylan fist-pumped like he had just won a championship. You're welcome, Dad. Nathan shook his head, amused. This was already a bad idea. And yet, for the first time in a long time, he found himself looking forward to something that had nothing to do with business. Friday arrived faster than Nathan expected. He had been in back-to-back meetings all day, closing deals that would make headlines, but for the first time in years, his mind wasn't on business. It was on a woman he had never met, a woman his 8-year-old son had set him up with. As he pulled up outside the small restaurant, he checked his watch. 6:58 p.m. He was never late. Not to board meetings, not to investor calls, and apparently not to blind dates arranged by his matchmaking son. Taking a breath, he stepped inside. The place was warm and inviting, nothing like the high-end restaurants he was used to. Wooden tables, dim lighting, the smell of something freshly baked drifting from the kitchen. It wasn't impressive, but it was comfortable. And then he saw her. Olivia. She was seated by the window, stirring a glass of iced tea absent-mindedly. Shoulder-length brown hair, sharp but kind eyes, a quiet confidence in the way she sat. She didn't look nervous. If anything, she looked amused, like she already knew Nathan was out of his depth. He walked over and she looked up, smiling. Well, she said, setting her drink down, you actually showed up. That's a good start. Nathan smirked as he sat across from her. You sound surprised. I am. Olivia leaned forward, resting her chin on her hand. Busy billionaire CEO? I figured you'd cancel at the last minute with a vague, urgent business excuse. Nathan chuckled. Trust me, I thought about it. Olivia laughed, shaking her head. Dylan said you'd say that. Nathan sighed. Of course he did. A waiter arrived, handing them menus. Olivia didn't even look at hers. I'm getting the chicken pot pie. It's the best thing here. Nathan raised an eyebrow. That good? Olivia shrugged. Only one way to find out. Nathan flipped through the menu, but his attention kept drifting back to her. She was different. People usually tried to impress him, act formal, careful. Olivia, she wasn't trying to impress him at all. You're staring, she said without looking up. Nathan smirked. So I've been told. The rest of dinner felt normal. They talked. Not about business, not about money, but about real things. About Dylan. About how Olivia had been a teacher for years and loved every second of it. About how Nathan, for all his success, still felt like he was figuring out how to be a dad. And somewhere between the laughter, the teasing, and the easy conversation, Nathan realized something. This wasn't just a setup. This was something else, something he hadn't seen coming. And he had no idea what to do about it.